countdown for blast off. X minus 5, 4, 3, 2, X minus 1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine.
Warning. The following are thoughts and opinions that belong to 4chan and Reddit. They do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of the Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge. This is for entertainment purposes only.
My dead mom follows me. When I was 5, my mother was diagnosed with cancer, and when I was 11, she passed away. It was the hardest experience I have ever had. A week after she passed away, I returned to school, and on that particular day, we had a fire drill. The alarm was sounding, and my class was falling into line outside. I wore my favorite Star Wars R2-D2 t-shirt. While we were standing outside, a woman approached me, pointed to my shirt, and said, "Do you like that?" I nodded and replied, "Yes." She then instructed me, "Look a little more happy, sweetheart." What shocked me was that this woman wore sunglasses that my mom used to wear, her favorite. She also wore shoes that were the same as my mom's and an identical fur coat. The only time I really did feel it was when I saw the woman with the hijab. My Middle Eastern immigrant mother had been made to wear one when she was a child. When the woman turned away, one of my classmates sitting beside me leaned over and whispered, "That was weird," and that made me feel better and know that I wasn't losing my mind. Ever since, I've felt like I've had a shadow cast over me with random reminders of her. Sometimes, I even hear her calling my name. She's helping out too. It seems she will turn the lights on and wake me up sometimes by turning the lights on in my room. Am I crazy? We saw someone that was not a human. I've wanted to share this story for a long time but never found the right place. I've told some friends and relatives, and even they were surprised. This happened when I was around 10 or 11 years old, maybe younger. My sister was with me at the time. The place was a little far from home, a terrace farming area. I'm not sure what that type of place is exactly called, but I'll call it that for now, where many people, including my family, had land to grow crops. Back then, it was very quiet, with no one around. There were also many trees in that area, making it feel even more isolated. There used to be very few people working in the fields, and even they were far away from where we were. One afternoon, around 2 p.m., my sister and I went there to take lunch to our grandpa, who was working in the field. We stayed for a while and then started walking back home. On the way, we suddenly heard a voice and saw someone. The voice sounded like our neighbor's grandmother, who often came there to collect goat fodder. She was standing at the top of the field and called us to get something, I don't remember what exactly. My sister went up while I waited below, carrying some logs. The place was so silent, surrounded by trees, and with no one nearby, that I was already feeling scared. My legs were literally shaking while I stood there waiting, lol. After a while, my sister came back and said she didn't see anyone up there. We both panicked because we clearly remembered hearing her voice and seeing someone wearing clothes like hers. We quickly walked home, feeling very scared. After reaching home, we went to the grandmother's house and asked if she had gone out to collect grass that day. She looked confused and said, "No, I didn't go anywhere today." That gave us chills. Even now, when I think about it, I don't understand what happened. If she wasn't there, whose voice did we hear? Who was that exactly? Something in the graveyard. I've been living next to this giant graveyard for around 2 years. It hosts around 50,000 graves. It's beautiful and often a place I visited just to walk around. So I had this awful day at work. This was about 12 years ago now, but I remember it so vividly. Horrible day, one of those days where I didn't want to go straight home and deal with all the home jobs. Socializing, cleaning, dinner, etc. Instead I planned on driving to a mountaintop lookout where there's a cool ice cream venue, grabbing a cone and watching the world drift by while I decompressed. But I took a wrong turn and ended up in the neighborhood surrounding the cemetery. I figured, fuck it. It's quiet and a cemetery walk would be the peace I needed. It was just dusk outside but plenty light enough that I could clearly see trees, houses, names on the gravestones, and if anyone else was around. I knew in about 45 minutes to an hour that it would be dark outside, but for now I felt comfortable. I parked my car and walked over the berm into the graveyard. This graveyard is massive, by the way. Without signs and streets, it would be impossible to find your way through this maze, and there was no way in hell I was planning on walking that far in. I just kept to the sidewalk where the berm and houses were while the mass of graves were on the left of me. I called my then boyfriend, crying to him about how awful my day had been, and he was trying to calm me down and talk me through my day. In my peripheral to the left of me, I thought I saw a big black shadow. Maybe 50 meters in. It was only brief that I saw it or think I saw it. I wasn't sure if I saw what I saw, and had I left just then, I probably would have shrugged it off, but my fight or flight instincts kicked in. I was still on the phone but became extremely wary of what it was that I think I saw, if I saw anything at all. So, I'm walking and looking in that direction while I'm still on the phone. My eyes peeled just in case something happened, but I definitely began to start feeling uneasy, and I'm now absolutely focused on anything that might be in there with me. I'm a woman, walking alone in a graveyard. I'm more concerned with a creepy guy skulking around than I am anything paranormal, but I still feel very uncomfortable and on edge. As I'm walking and talking, but still looking in the direction that I first spotted the shadow, it appeared again. This time I'm staring right at it, literally watching it manifest. As if it collected this energy or particles and formed a giant, black, mass. Just opaque enough for me to see the gravestones it moved through, but much, much darker than the surrounding area. It was quite tall, much taller than the average human with no arms or legs. Just a moving, black mass. It drifted through several gravestones for about 4 seconds, which is long enough for me to question whether or not I'm seeing things, and then confirming, nope, I am definitely looking straight at this thing and that is not a person. It was maybe a little closer than I saw it the first time. Not by much, maybe 40 meters now. 4 seconds is a really long time to see something and watch it move. I just stared at it and I think I stopped talking on the phone completely. I don't remember what I thought at the time other than the confirmation to myself that what I'm seeing is real. Then as quick as it appeared, it just vanished. Like a fog dissipating again. Instantly I got this image in my head that the next time I saw it, it would be right in my face. I quickly told my boyfriend I would see him at home, turned and hurriedly walked to the car and left. I just feel like, maybe something was looking out for me and sending me a warning that whatever that thing was, it did not have good intentions and I needed to leave. I don't remember being very scared while I was driving. I don't feel like anything followed me or was in the car with me. It definitely snapped me out of whatever mood I was in that day. When I got home I told my boyfriend what happened immediately and he shrugged it off, saying it must have been me hallucinating since I was super emotional. I was really irritated at that response. I know what I saw and I'm usually a really calm, rational person, so there's no way I just got so carried away with my emotions that I started seeing things. That felt so unreasonable of a response to me and so invalidating. I lived with my uncle at the time and told him what happened and how I was really disappointed with my boyfriend's response. That's when he suggested that maybe I saw something because I was emotional and vulnerable. Maybe my walls were down and it was drawn to me. The more I think about that incident, the more that just feels right. I think whatever it was, seemed curious about me. Maybe I did have my walls down, I don't know. But I don't think that whatever it was had good intentions. I'm just glad to not have any lingering experiences with whatever that was. It's been so many years and I remember it so vividly, and I'm always racking my brain wondering what the hell that thing was. I've even considered talking with psychics about it just to hear what their opinions are. Message from deceased parents. Last night I was out with a friend at a bar that had karaoke going. One of the songs that came on was actually one of my mom's favorites. She passed away a few years ago. I looked over at my buddy and mentioned how much it reminded me of her. About 30 minutes later, I was in the restroom and got a notification on my phone that said "Mom joined Telegram." It completely caught me off guard. I walked back out and showed my friend. He was just as shocked. I've known him forever and I know he wouldn't mess with me like that. We looked at the profile, and it was connected to her old cell number. It even said "last seen recently." He told me I should message it, so I did. I asked, "Who is this?" And the reply came back instantly, "Your father. My dad passed away 5 years ago." I replied again, but never got another message. Now the profile says "last seen a long time ago." I honestly don't understand how something like that could happen, especially with the timing of that song coming on and me mentioning my mom. It was loud in there, so I don't think my phone could have heard anything. Just really strange, can't stop thinking about it. This freaked me out. I hate this so much. Husband and I were taking like a 15 in between playing games since we both have quests and play all the time together. I decided to play First Encounter since I haven't in forever, and why not? I rescanned the room because it was quicker and was just like thumbs up light skin tone to everything. Since it's in pass-through mode I can see everything, so no big deal. This three-dimensional person-shaped outline was taken out of the playing arena. Husband was sitting in the kitchen at the table and I am about a foot and some change shorter. I'd like to think it's a play on the corners of the room, but I just don't understand how this would be the first time this ever happened. And also, not straight lines. I walked around to the other side. I just have to say, thoroughly creeped me out. This is really a damn shame we can't upload videos in this community. But since we can't, I'll just have to explain it. Well, I was listening to my homesick loud as per my style, playing it loud and partying by myself. I glanced up towards my TV, which is mounted on the wall. Something caught my attention. It looked like there were two people standing on either side of the archway. So slowly I got my phone and started recording whatever I thought I saw. After brighting the video, there were more than two crammed into the doorway. Not only was it way more than two, what blew my mind was they were dancing. They were having a freaking party. I could upload a photo, but this is something that anything other than watching the video would greatly diminish this rarity, at least for me. If I can upload it in my other community, I shall let you all know. Something really scary followed me home. Okay, so I don't post much here, but I really need to know if anyone else has experienced something like this. Last night I went on a walk kinda late, around 11 p.m., and I swear I felt like I was being watched. Not just watched, but followed. I kept hearing footsteps behind me, but every time I turned around, nothing was there. I even stopped walking a couple times and it sounded like something stopped too. When I got home, everything seemed normal at first, until stuff started happening. Lights flickering. My dog growling at corners. And this morning, I found scratches on my bedroom door from the inside. I live alone. Has anyone ever had something follow them home? What did you do to get rid of it? Any help or stories would be appreciated. I'm kinda freaked out right now. Weird things happening in my house. For a little context, I have lived in my house for 2 years now, and I lived next door with my parents for 9 years, and we don't know of anyone dying in the house. My grandpa passed away November of 2023, and I do have a small amount of this ashes. About a year ago, weird things started happening in my house. Doors unlocking and opening on their own when I'm in a different part of the house and home alone, my Alexa randomly playing a song I've never heard before, lights and the switch turning off on their own. Now the most notable thing that has happened, I had a friend spending the night and my BF was working late. My friend and I both went to our rooms to fall asleep. Maybe an hour later we both heard someone unlock my front door and take a step into my house, and it sounded like a man in work boots. Naturally we both thought my BF was home. Plot twist, he was still on a job site a few towns away. My friend said when she heard the door open something felt cold and heavy over her chest. We both got up and my door was still locked and closed. Nothing came up on my doorbell camera. We were both equally spooked, so we stayed up until my BF got home. Since then no other crazy weird stuff has happened. My Alexa has randomly turned on and I've had my phone act weird frequently, but nothing out of the ordinary that wasn't happening before that night. Any thoughts? Should I be worried at all? I need answers, please. So a week ago at school my friend was telling me and 3 other girls about how she was on FaceTime with her boyfriend and she hung up early to take a shower. Well, around 7:17 a.m. her boyfriend got a FaceTime from her, and when he answered she just blinked at him and didn't answer, so he took a SS and she hung up. Well, when that happened she was still in the shower, she didn't even have her phone, it was in her bedroom. Her LEDs were not that color AMD, she never set her phone up like that. She also said the same thing happened with her and her cousin, but when she FaceTimed her cousin took a SS and lightened the picture and her eyes were black and there was an indent in her pillow like someone had been laying there but nobody had been. And both times you could tell it was her, but she looked off like she didn't look like herself, but you could tell it was her. And I made a joke that it's gonna start happening to everyone at the table, but I didn't think it would start happening to other girls at the table. Last night my boyfriend tried FaceTiming me and he said I picked up, but I never got it. I asked him if I was talking and he said no, and I asked him if my camera was on and he said no, but then I did turn my camera on and he saw me, but I wasn't even connected to the FaceTime. So I texted my friend that was also at the table when our other friend told us, and she said that something similar happened to her the other day. She was on FaceTime with her boyfriend and they were doing their own thing and she heard him say her name. Like loud and clear, but he never said anything at all. I think it's a mimic, but I just need answers and I need to know if it's dangerous or not. I just got back from doing a cleansing at my girlfriend's house. All me to explain. My friend's house has a piano room that connects her apartment to the main house. She and many of her family members believe it to be haunted. The first time we hung out and had dinner at our usual fast food place, McDonald's. She asked me to come by and see if I could sense anything. When I arrived in the room I noticed a small cubby. I could feel 3 spirits in that cubby. 2 grandmothers and a small child. I also noticed a much bigger cubby but sensed nothing. The second time, when she asked again, I put all my attention onto that larger cubby and could sense something a bit darker than before. I had a good struggle with the spirit and it flew me against the piano, causing me to get out of the house rather quickly. This is the most recent encounter I've had. Again I focused on the larger cubby and felt cold spots. I had the same struggle, the same spirit as I did the second time. This time however it felt like my body was being controlled by the spirit itself. I fought with it for about an hour and a half before once again, getting out of that room. Bro, this sigil shit works. Make sigil to quickly get a Tinder match. Got a new match few minutes ago. Thank you Grant Morrison. And thank you to whoever was the anon who out me onto Chaos Shock, you're a real nigga. Also there's a sigil in OkCupid related, I admit, it's a sigil to help get a the blonde girl, it worked for me, it can work for you too. Other anons helped me get to where I am. So why hold it back? Elaborate, F-slur, how was your Tinder date? Just matched 25 minutes ago. I'll see what happens. I'm posting because it's spooky that I charged and released a sigil for that less than 10 minutes prior to the match. Keep us informed. Explain what is the process of such sorcery anon. Be on Tinder. Tinder works as expected. It's magic. This is that 5% aspect of chaos magic, or any magic for that matter, that can't be explained away with mundane psychology, which can very well account for the other 95%. You have to bring in something like the collective unconscious to account for this. None of my sigils ever worked. Fuck my life. How did you make the sigil? How are things going, OP? The sigils don't work. You're playing a stupid game and won a stupid prize. You're taking shortcuts and it's going to fuck you over in the long run. Easy come, easy go. I have also had significant success with sigils. I didn't come on them or burn them, though. I use the tune making them and drawing/coloring them beautifully to alpha wave meditate on the thing I want, then put the finished artwork on my vision board. Don't forget that Agenda 2030 is a 10 times bigger agenda than Agenda 21 was, and they brought out the whole COVID scamdemic and World Economic Forum. You will live in a pod and eat bugs shit for that. Bury some acorns for the future when you have a chance. Retard, take with that mentality you will never experience miracles or magic cause you're cooking yourself out of it. Oh no, everything went according to my desires, that's bad and it will fuck me over in the long run. You're a dumbass. I studied the occult before, and one important lesson with black and chaos magic is that you're going to have to pay for what your ritual is about in one way or another. For fuck's sake, I read a ritual on making time feel like it's moving faster and they had to do another ritual to compensate for the drag that comes from doing the initial ritual. It was said something that the ritual practitioners went on a road trip and the way there went extremely fast, but the way back was 3 to 4 times slower than usual. There's a cost with this shit. It's something the practitioners and books themselves will teach. It's always the idiots rushing headfirst carelessly into the occult and then start crying when shit goes south and they don't know what the fuck to do or what they did that led them to the shitty situation they've gotten themselves involved with. Playing with the occult is like playing with a double-edged sword. You're harming yourself more than you realize. But it's not an obvious harm, like a cut or a bruise or a rash. It's on a spiritual level that we cannot readily see, neither perceive. Not just that, but it's all tied to the worldly, human existence. Why settle for this shit when you can aim so much higher? I will never understand why people sell themselves short. Like, look at OP. He's trying to fuck with ideas and systems that are beyond what the human mind can readily understand, and of all the things to do, he looks for a fucking date on the internet. Don't you see how fucking ridiculous this shit is? The occult seems so alluring, but realistically, what does it offer that you can't already do with your own 2 hands and a brain? It's fucking stupid. I dunno, bro. I just want a nice girlfriend too. There's always strings attached. Even with relationships, too. Stop being so short-sighted and use your fucking brain. Really think about these things you people think you want, cause it's never what you'd want nor expect it to be. The idea is always much more alluring than the experience itself. Honestly, it just shows an underlying form of laziness if I'm going to be brutally honest. NTA, I have a similar experience. I never, ever get matches on dating apps. Gave up on them for a while because I genuinely had way better odds just approaching women at shows and bars than I ever did on dating apps. On a lark I reactivate my Tinder and OkCupid account and then make myself a sigil with one of those chaos magic websites. I jerk off then look at it before I finish. Within 20 minutes I had not one, not two, but 4 matches. Got to be picky and hooked up with 2 of them. You'd learn 1,000 times more from trial and error talking to women and fucking up and learning from your experiences than drawing some stupid shapes on a piece of paper and chant some bullshit nonsense directed towards it LMAO. Cause the sigil might get you a date, but if you're not capable of handling the woman due to your lack of experience, then what the fuck was the point? So I'm guessing you used a sigil in the past to try and be really straight. Yaniba, you're stupid. There's no black or white magic. The fact that you made that distinction tells me you don't know shit. Magic is all the same everywhere and it is very well understood actually. Go read up on RAS. I know you won't though, because it will break your Christ kook delusions about magic. Stop spamming artard. How is it a cult? OPS not keeping a secret. A cult means someone's keeping a secret. Are you just calling anything other than what you were raised on a cult? Are yoga classes a cult? I don't actually believe in black or white magic, it's all just a cult. So before you start off with your trivial arguments, let's not jump to conclusions and make blind assumptions. Yes, I'm using these terms to make clear distinctions since there are practitioners that see it differently. Now that that's out of the way, I don't need to read shit because I've practiced more than enough occult to know it's pure bullshit. It's all a scam to get you to trade off things that you aren't aware of, but the things behind the occult are. You're getting fucking scammed by the equivalent of Indian. Why are you being this disingenuous as if you don't understand words can have various meanings? Like seriously, why are you being like this? Phone tech spam callers LMAO. Why are you being this disingenuous as if you don't understand words can have various meanings? Like seriously, why are you being like this? You can define it right now if you want it to mean something right now. You're occulting your definition of occult. Instead, look up the definition yourself, that way you can stop this nonsensical argument already. I don't have to hold your hand, right? If you need this much help, then maybe you should do some rituals to stop being so slow-minded. That's not her pick. You're talking with a 45-year-old male cross-dresser who's asking himself if he should go through with the operation. LOL dumbass. With that kind of negative outlook, inspired by desert religions, of course your personal unconscious won't play nice with you. Do you know anything about the basic factors at play? You seem to have the understanding of a 16-year-old Wiccan witch from Tumblr as it pertains to magic. My outlook of the occult came through my own experiences with it. Again, you're so desperate to make it into something it isn't, just so you can hold tightly to your preconceived biases towards things you really don't understand. Defending things you don't understand and acting hostile towards things you don't understand. I just pity you, man. I don't hate your, nor hold any hostility towards you. Just pity you cause you have no fucking idea what you're toying with just to land a fucking date with a woman on the internet. That's putting the pussy on a pedestal times 1000 if you knew the drawbacks from doing this shit. Your experiences are tainted by your own negative outlook. That's why they were bad. There you go. And I'm not OP. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Again, you're desperate to hold tightly towards your preconceived biases towards me and are telling me you know my life better than I do. Fuck off, man. I am correct about the definition involving something being covered or held in secret. And so am I. Look at the very bottom of your image. Okay, so that then includes all of Christianity and every other religion as well, since Jesus and every other deity and God all have supernatural powers. I see you really are here for a nonsensical argument. Go find someone else to have one with. I have been thinking about creating a hyper sigil like Grant did, but I can't really figure out how to make it magical. As it stands, I feel like the book I write would be no different from any other book which uses symbolism to share the author's philosophy and which has the author self-inserting himself. Like, I feel like there has to be a lot more to it that I don't understand yet. Any F-slurs had success with hyper sigils? Using magic to get women is literally the most monkey paw shit ever. It doesn't just backfire sometimes. It backfires every fucking time. Got to let the kiddos learn though. Het. Agreed, but fuck if I'll just stay quiet. I know this shit is bad, it sucks because so many people want to just do shit without really considering the drawbacks and the costs of it. The most fucked up part is that they just take the words of the people they learn these things from. I guess con men have always existed in various forms. No. You are here to lie and to spread lies. And you worship a god whose name is truth. You're in for something else when you get to the afterlife. Why the fuck did you make this thread if you're not going to tell us how to do it? He wants us to beg him for the keys to his secret esoteric knowledge. It's a form of narcissism. OP is not special. Zoom in around the tits. Sigil magic is pretty easy. You just create a magical symbol that represents your desire. Draw it. Then you come on the symbol, focusing intensely on it at the moment of orgasm where a crack between the upper and lower consciousness is created. Then you just destroy the sigil and never think about it again. Anons are right in that you will probably get a demon-infested evil bitch if you use magic to get a girl directly like OP did. I suggest you instead use magic to make yourself the type of person who gets a girlfriend rather than trying to directly manifest a girlfriend. When guys say they hooked up with a girl or something like 30 times in a row, or just once or something, if they don't offer vivid and explicit details, I always assume they are lying. If they offer details and they seem fake, then I also assume they are lying. Oh yeah, I hooked up with a different girl every weekend freshman year bro, I hooked up with Twitter famous person bro, I hooked up with Twitter famous person's daughter brother. Hey stupid nibba, did you ever think that maybe you should look up who Grant Morrison is on your Facebook machine and try and seek out the answers for yourself? Obviously not, because you're a F-slur spoon-feeding knave. Delete yourself nibba. It's an Agenda 2030 preparedness sigil. It prepares you and guides you through the most peaceful and valuable path through whatever wacky shit they have planned for Agenda 2030. A lot of people gave up their careers and shit to avoid the cookbacks. You'll want to have rebuilt your foundation in society before 2030 in case they try anything like that again, and this sigil is supposed to help with that. Why would I charge a Jew sigil to empower them? How do you make a sigil for a specific purpose? So what do you recommend doing first before sigils? Don't do the sigils to begin with. It's a fucking crutch for lazy people who don't want to put in the time and effort to do things the proper way. What about utilizing symbols in other ways? Do sigils work? What is the proper way? No, sigils do not work. If I give you a rock to rub 3 times a day and tell you that you will get $5 in your mailbox if you do it for the whole week, and then come Friday, I deposit the $5 into your mailbox, are you going to say the rock is magic and it gave you what you wanted? My bad, I'm back, crashed because I was up all night with work friends at a diner after a late shift. The sigil is in the pic. Also, all you really need to do is make a sigil out of the consonants of the statement you want to happen. I.e., I had a great sunny day today. And turn it into a symbol. Charge it by observing it in a trance-like, gnosis, state, then destroy it. Really, you can do whatever you want with it, use any other systems with it, deities, etc. I've had great luck praying to Christ before and after my work and tapping into Freja, Kali, and Joy Boy. I'm waiting for the fat titty blonde girl sigil bro. It's in the pic. What if I want to win a scratch off instead of get a date? Same shit. And I make my own sigil, or do I use an established one? I've already got my own personal logo I could use. What if I jerk off to porn, but when the time comes for the money shot, then I focus on the sigil? Genuinely curious, by the way. You have to be realistic. This works because we are planting a seed in the subconscious mind. The seed will grow when you are sleeping and idle. The default mode network is higher IQ than your thinking brain, which means that when it works on the task you have set it, you will see progress that feels miraculous. It's essentially the same shit that the law of attraction slurs have going on. But chaos magic isn't so visualization dependent, which is nice. Yeah, absolutely, the rock is magic. At the farthest reaches of deep space, new matter springs out of the vacuum of space from nothing. These particles pop into existence at the whim of nothing, or do they pop into existence at the whim of the most complicated machine in the known universe, which also happens to be located directly at the center of the known universe, your brain? According to physics scientists, the more complex machines they make, the more particles they can make. The most complicated particles is the tachyon, which travels backwards in time. Why shouldn't the most complicated machine we know of make tachyons? Matter and antimatter spontaneously popping into existence from the vacuum of space is supposedly how all matter formed. So your brain could send tachyons back in time to the origin of matter that becomes you and alter the world in any way you want, past, present, or future. From the agar of such powerful consciousness, within it could grow self-replicating memes, living thought forms, egregores, gods, even. Can the complete set of rules by which mundane lower particles such as protons and electrons be completely governed by higher particles which are themselves governed by substrate of the raw conscious and unconscious power of our brains? Is truly anything possible? In order to maximize your power, you have to believe that it can do anything, but you just don't know how yet, and that what you have now is good enough for what you want. There's a million different magical practices that you can test out and see what works and what doesn't. And you can just pick and choose what works for you. Quick rundown: you can make a sigil for giant asteroids crashing into India, not just sex. Using a sigil you didn't make is like taking a pill a stranger handed you in a dark alley. Chaps magic, aka jerking off on scribbles. The scribbles worked though, lol. Agenda 2030 was Agenda 2021, but it was offset by 9 years due to Trump's presidency. I also posted that archived rune book so you can make your own ones made from that, if you trust whoever made those. Supposedly Odin carved the runes according to myth, from divine revelation, so also God through Odin, but also whoever physically made the specific book I posted because it has some unique parts. Also, what's easy or practical about getting a date when you have no dating experience to begin with? It seems quite the opposite, in fact. Impractical and difficult. Some things in life need to be given effort to receive, so that you understand personally the process it takes to achieve naturally. Because through that process, you learn so much. And without these lessons, the prize received won't be properly appreciated or even utilized, since the process of receiving it taught you the basic functions of how it works. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I don't understand what you said, Satan, because it doesn't apply to me. I already have experience. I just wanna cut to the chase, nigga. Bruv, there's so many ways to charge a sigil you don't have to ejaculate. Wasn't it Global 2000 originally, Keck? I tried the same thing. I wanted to have sex. Made a sigil, did the things. But there's ways a catch. I'm having sex. I'm having sex all the time now. But I wanted to have sex with a woman. Now I am gay fucking dudes. Pray to God for a wife. Get a wife. Happy fulfilling life, loving each other and raising kids. What? God isn't steroids, bro. You're allowed to ask God for help with things in life. All this chaos magic is just another way of praying. I started praying to Freya and got a girlfriend in person the next day. I learned social skills then in person from going on real-life dates. These gods are living beings that help, teach, and learn from you. It's all alive. Or maybe God wants OP to be a fucking wizard and make history, and he's gonna make everything OP tries other than magic fail on purpose in order to force him to hone his skills. No, let people be fucking mouth-breathing retards and fuck up. They deserve it, and it's also the only way they learn. Why would I charge someone else's sigil when I don't know who made it, when I can just make my own for the same end? I'm just trying to make sigils go viral on right-wing websites to make the right wing more powerful. If you already know how to make them, then you aren't the target audience of my post. Also, I want to spread awareness about Agenda 2030. It's too late, magic has been done to weaken them. Look at the news, you're too late. Does anyone here have any paranormal sightings/stories from their time in the military? I'll share one of mine. At Fort Benning for OSUT, 2023. We finish up firing around 2100 and start our cleanup of the range. Me and my friends decide to fuck off in the woods while everyone cleans. Two of our buddies come running out of the woods saying they saw something. We all decide to walk where they came from like a horror movie to investigate. Take about 10 steps in when I see it. Tall humanoid figure with bright red eyes staring at us. Get an instant gut drop and decide to book it out of there. My friends all follow as well. We group up at the range and one friend asks if we saw that. Everyone chimes in describing the same thing that I saw. Be a major in the US Army. Stationed at Florida. Saw spooky mist. Was actually swamp gas. Be me, sleep-deprived infantry trainee. See something weird at the end of the day after being primed to see something weird by other sleep-deprived trainees when I'm tired after getting dropped 6 times and squatting my gun 4 times for 20 minutes each, in between lying in mud and crouching in mud and standing in mud and barely not fucking up firing the deadly weapon in my hands. Must have been real. But I do appreciate hearing any more stories. Sorry to be so dismissive, I'm sure I'll think of one in a bit when my brain works better. Everybody is cleaning up. But me and my friends decided to leave, haha. That is not how the military works, private. Be me. On night watch. Saw something that looked transparent walk right by me. 5 minutes later, a suit walks up and starts interrogating me. Buddy was looking like full Men in Black, even wearing shades indoors. Finally got irritated and left. Must not have been in for a while. Taking inventory. Need to shit. Go to the restroom. Hear the most blood-curdling scream in the next stall. Ask Buddy if he's okay, but no response. Hear another scream of agony. Clean up and walk out of the stall. No one was in there but me. I was in like week 8 of the basic training portion of infantry training. There was like 230 of us. It was really easy to just slip away walking down range. Is joining the Air Force worth it? Will I discover hidden shit? I hear basic isn't bad, but I feel a bit iffy at the idea of leaving everyone here, including friends and girlfriend, behind for 2 months of I go. Uneasy face. Damn too. CFB Gagetown is kinda spoopy. Tunnels under the base, looks like a school or office building down there. It's at least 2 stories deep, and if you get caught you're going to military jail. Also several abandoned towns on the base. One has a very high fence and concertina wire, like they really don't want anyone going in there, and all the buildings are boarded up. Used to hear voices from there at night. If you really want to join the military, your best bet would be Air Force. If you score high enough you probably could get some cool intelligence job. If you are really set on it though, 2 months will feel like nothing if you remember your goals and that it's only temporary. Be late at night in the barracks. Can't sleep. Suddenly heard large footsteps, like elephants were walking by. What the fuck is that? Doorknob was rattling like an old school alarm clock. Nope.jpg. Eventually stops and I go to sleep. FT Hood. Winter of 2001. Walking back to barracks at night. Pass between two buildings. Feel a sudden compulsion to crouch downward. Do it. 0.5 seconds later a metal pipe or something like it swings really fucking fast where my head just was. Someone tried caving my head in. Ran like fucking hell before they could recover and try again. Only kind of saw the attacker out of the corner of my eye. Never reported it because what the fuck was I going to tell anyone? Gang initiation, cannibals, or cults. FT Hood do be like that. I want stories from Afghanistan. Did you guys really see demons and giants? When that Muslim soldier shot the place up, my first thought was, I understand. It, along with Killeen, site of the Lubies massacre, was a ghetto shithole. Nothing major but be in convoy in Jordan. Passing through a valley on one side. Opposite side is a village. Super intense green laser beam emits from the village in our direction. Does a sweep then vanishes. Nobody else seems to have noticed. Still no idea what it was, probably not paranormal but it spooked me. Don't really have any from Afghanistan, just Kogies acting like spastics and some pretty cool sandstorm/lightning combos. It was on this live fire range on Sand Hill and it was dark. It was pretty easy to just fuck around and slip into the wood line. A while back, I brought to your attention a fellow by the name of John Westbrook who allegedly was wanted for kidnapping his daughter. Multiple aspects of the story reeked to high heaven. Too much emphasis was put on the fact that he was purchasing things using Bitcoin. At first glance, it would seem to be a case of technologically illiterate members of the press creating a false equivalency between Bitcoin and all other things technical, and of course, the age-old false equivalency between intellect and potential malicious intent. People have always found those more intelligent than they intimidating, and so they have blamed the intellect of others rather than examining their own faults. That said, I have prepared an explanation for the irregularities surrounding his biography that I find quite satisfying, that ultimately has led to light being shed on a much larger story that up until now has been withheld from the American public. On August 15, 1977, a signal was received at the Big Ear Observatory at Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio. This was known as the WOW signal, owing to the word WOW being written on a printout of the signal received. The public was told that 6 bytes of information were received by the telescope and that after exhaustive off-axis and off-frequency searches, no repetition of the non-random signal could be found. This is simply false. The signal received at Ohio State, represented as signal-to-noise ratio, was 6 EQUJ5. The reason why the dish operator was stunned by this was not because this data was non-random, those letters are quite random. The reason why this was shocking was because at the time, it was the control password for their radio telescope, needed for system access and to be able to reposition the telescope. At the time, it was considered a very secure password. The odds of noise from deep space coinciding with this password was essentially zero. The radio telescope was part of the SETI, search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and the simple fact was, there was no possibility that aliens would have known what the password was for their radio telescope. The first theory was that a prank was being played by someone working at the observatory. Before the operator of the dish could get off the phone with their supervisor, more data began streaming in. There was one other possibility, that human beings in the future sent the message deliberately with the intention assuring that the operators pay attention to it. This possibility was confirmed when, just moments later, the radio telescope received, "Elvis dies tomorrow." Sure enough, on August 16, 1977, news broke that the king of rock and roll had perished. These events were the true reason for the multitude of conspiracy theories concerning Elvis, some of which were promoted at request of the US government in order to discredit anyone telling the story I am now describing. Before long, officers of the Central Intelligence Agency arrived at Ohio State University to gather information and swear the staff to secrecy. As this was transpiring, the telescope continued to receive data. The data included instructions for building a neutrino detector, something which had never been done before, along with instructions to emplace the detector deep under the Earth. The events happening from 1977 onward became the inspiration for the novel Contact, with Carl Sagan having knowledge of the events of August 15, 1977. Over the next several years, DARPA worked in secret to develop the first neutrino detector, which have the exclusive purpose of facilitating receipt of communications from the future. When knowledge of neutrino detectors went public, they were assigned other stated applications. It was only thanks to the existence of a sufficiently sophisticated tachyon trajection system on the front end of the previous timeline that a radio telescope not meant for receiving neutrinos was able to detect the signal. Since it's a fact of physics that sufficiently intense convergence of neutrinos lead to the creation of electrons, something which the radio telescope was indeed very sensitive to. The intention of the people sending the message was to give the United States a technical and strategic advantage they would not have otherwise had. The message was sent by an individual within the conquered United States in 2072, a number of years after the US had been defeated by the People's Republic of China in a calamitous war. After the end of that war, China had developed the technology to communicate with the past, and were actively using that technology to further oppress people around the world. Tachyon generation requires extremely fine beam control of neutrinos passed within an atomic width of a horizontally oriented Skyrmion lattice. Near collisions with magnetons, quantized magnetism emitted from the rotating magnetic fields that are skyrmions, increase the spin of neutrinos. The more magnetons schemed by the neutrinos fired, the faster the spin, and the faster the spin, the more the neutrinos can resist reaccumulation of their Higgs field while in temporal transit after the mass negation/magneton collision phase. Neutrinos, already having infinitesimally low mass, may be bestowed with negative mass through a collision with a magneton. Magneton collision is the necessary second phase of tachyon generation. In this way, a message may be sent to a very specific set of space-time coordinates, by controlling lattice density, length, and proximity to beam. This level of precision was only made possible by launching a tachyonic trajection system satellite into orbit of the Earth, where there is absolutely zero vibrational energy to skew the beam. This is a system that can only function at this level of precision in orbit as even microchip fabrication plants built upon giant springs allow for some movement. Although the technology can work with ground-based emitters, if one wishes to hit a radio telescope that is oriented toward the sky and do so from 97 years in the future with a target time frame of only a few hours, it is best to do so from space, where targeting accuracy can be maximized. The message, it seems, was only sent because an American had been able to hack into China's most secure facility and hijack their tachyonic trajection system. Although the sender of the message assured 1977 that no universe-ending paradox would result from the dispatch of information and any future use of the American device, the Americans in charge of the program were nevertheless superstitious about this possibility. As such, regulations were established mandating that anyone working on the program may not, without escort, leave the compound where the neutrino detector was emplaced. The first-generation detector built by DARPA was operated in a secure facility at ground level for about 5 years until a place of sufficient depth within the borders of the United States could be identified and construction could be completed. The second deepest cave in America, discovered in 1987, is the Lechuguilla Cave, part of the Carlsbad Caverns cave system, which happens to enjoy the protection of the National Park Service and happens to be one of the most remote of the national parks. The cave's depth was determined to be 1,200 feet, and has been closed to the public for the past 34 years for safety reasons. Wouldn't want anyone to fall down that hole. Construction was completed in 1991 on the facility, and in early 1992, the platter was completed, which is the second-generation detector. From the start, the program was not kept absolutely secret, with a single news organization being let in on the program, only because one of the Ohio State students tipped them off, leading to a negotiation between that organization and the government. As a result of this information sharing, information about the future began to trickle out and was being incorporated into entertainment programs beginning in 1985. Nearly all of the programs featuring knowledge of the future appeared on the Fox Broadcasting Network, pointing to Fox as the likely insider. Since 1996, primary funding for LNSS has come from diverting funds and material resources, namely the third-gen neutrino detector, from the James Webb Space Telescope program, which is now 14 years behind schedule. The need to fund LNSS, America's time travel program, is the reason why. A crewed service elevator with a green door ferries employees into the underground complex, 1,200 feet below White City, New Mexico. This, combined with the cave taking its name from the Spanish word for lettuce cave facility, its colloquial name, the Green Door. Its official name is the Lechuguilla National Security Site, or LNSS. In 2009, a mission patch was leaked to the internet with no explanation given as to which military unit the patch belonged to, or what they did. The patch reads, "A lifetime of silence behind the green door." This may have been a result of a major expansion of the role of the program, and therefore also, the number of people involved, after a directive from President Barack Obama to use the technology to rescue the U.S. economy, which was only worsening after months of market free fall. Upon his inauguration, Obama was briefed on the program and upon inquiry, was told by LNSS that without intervention, the U.S. economy would not recover meaningfully at any point in the future. A cover story explaining away Goldman's lucky trades was published in 2009, attributing Lloyd Blankfein's success to superior server collocation and reduced ping times, as well as math-based trading known as quant trading. Given the obvious advantages of being able to predict the future, LNSS, using a closed-loop interface with Goldman Sachs, was able to create a series of lucky trades on the stock market that buoyed the U.S. economy to its pre-crash level with frightening inevitability, a capability utilized once again in 2020 after a similar 40% plunge forced its use. A cover story explaining away Goldman's lucky trades was published in 2009, attributing Lloyd Blankfein's success to superior server collocation and reduced ping times, as well as math-based trading known as quant trading. John Westbrook was an employee of this program. After many years of wanting to enter retirement and fearing that former employees are routinely killed, he decided not to return from a scheduled outing. This fact, combined with his fluency in Mandarin, led his superiors to assume he was defecting to China, when, after using LNSS mainframes to mine nearly $1 million in Bitcoin, paid a local for a used automobile using the cryptocurrency, which would have been the only form of tender he had access to, as LNSS staff are not permitted to have money or personal vehicles. Their pay is deposited to savings accounts they have no access to. Twice annual outings, usually to Boulder, are the only respite from the desert the employees are allowed, and these are chaperoned trips using government vehicles. The official story of Westbrook has been circulated heavily in China for reasons that were never made clear, as well as in the Chinatown of Vancouver, British Columbia. It is believed that he flew from Vancouver into mainland China, which has led to a delicate diplomatic situation in which the US could not divulge to China the true reasons for wanting Westbrook returned. Ordinarily a simple matter, poor relations as well as his high-value status, from China's perspective, precluded the possibility of telling the truth about Westbrook. A fictional story was concocted concerning a daughter he never had, a daughter, images of whom were created using an advanced supercomputer operated by the National Security Agency. The techniques are an outgrowth of generative adversarial network methods first demonstrated by NVIDIA Corporation in 2017. Apparently, the technology has improved to the point of being able to generate somewhat convincing video in addition to still images. However, the Daphne Westbrook video of June 4, 2021 was laced with mistakes that gave away the video as a forgery. The kidnapping of Daphne Westbrook was pretense, a flimsy excuse to pursue John Westbrook, a man whose only crime was quitting his job. Despite the usage of the platter to change the future to prop up American corporations, the United States continues to fail to utilize the technology to its maximal potential and at the same time, has failed to prevent the media from discovering the program. Knowledge of the mastery of time constitutes the greatest power yet conceived of by humanity and is, in essence, absolute power. We must now ask ourselves whether we can really risk the prospect of US corporations gaining absolute power. A growing swath of the world is under direct Chinese control, slaves, in effect. There, genocide and oppression are commonplace. Meanwhile, America differs only in terms of its style of oppression. America continues to smugly applaud itself for promoting the rights of deviants and adulterers whilst actively restricting the rights that matter, constitutional rights. These infringements grow in scope and severity with each passing year. The time has come to demand accountability from a government loath to utilize its power to save American lives but eager to use it to bail out major corporations. Your so-called media's bravery extended only as far as a smattering of prescient episodes of The Simpsons. Perhaps they were convinced that it was the right thing to keep silent. At the time, that may have been true. I consider the very fact that I have not been approached and asked to stop talking about this issue proof of the utter incompetence of those in power, and thus, a need exists to expose this weakness. It is one thing to have a détente with other nations and another entirely to fail to press one's advantage when doing so could benefit so many, and considering the roughly 1 million Americans lost to the coronavirus. Our failure to act is so comically absurd that it almost invalidates the plausibility of everything I've laid out so far. Yet, we know that history is rife both with empires that overplayed their hand as well as those who, as the United States has, failed to take necessary action to stop the momentum of a geopolitical foe. Negative mass, PFFFF, as if, what, it's like you think mass is a vector. Fuck off glowy. Bumping for thread of the decade. How did you discover this information, op? Also, what did you mean by the dead body in a single frame? A really interesting read nonetheless. I hope more analytically minded anons pick this up and dig into it some more. If what you said is true, then it's likely that this guy has already fallen into China's hands. It is certainly true that Chang has been outplaying America at seemingly every turn in recent years. Hopefully that isn't the case. If this guy was fucking communicating with the future, pretty much the only way you'll escape a super underground government compound. Is it not also possible that he could have gone rogue from both the U.S. and China? I fucking hope so, and hope that he puts us on a path that's not dominated by Globo Homo or China. Also, no sign of cute extraterrestrial Lyran eyes in the future. Just end me. Maybe it's John Westbrook himself pleading his case. Either way, the implications of this thread are unfathomable. Which isn't to say it's false. There was a time traveler from the future who claimed China succeeded in a war against the US. I watched the video and did not see a skunk or the dead body. Is there any way you can screen cap it? There are some fucking world-class, batshit crazy jittards on /x/ and OP might be their king. Prove you are not a bot. Last thread you randomly went off about your Newman prediction that no one asked for. Someone OCR test OP. Also, if you are who you say you are, how come you have not been responding back to your threads on 8con SRVGN? Prove you're not a shill. Only shills go on and on about AI and bots, and only shills think everything is a bot nowadays. You never answered Anon's picture question from the last thread, and such it is suspect. You also never replied to my acknowledgement about Daphne Westbrook's Facebook profile being highly suspect with signs that it's all fake. This makes me think you are not the OP from 8kun but are just copy-pasting his thread. There are strange things about the case but you refuse to elaborate or offer any sustainable proof you are even a real person. Tell me about the graphene sheets. Tell me about masers and particle acceleration if you are legit. Tell me about the patch. That patch is allegedly for the 504th Test Flight Squadron. The green door is spook speak for Special Access Program clearance. Can you address any of this or will you just call me a shill? Also, if you are the OP from 8kun, why do you not like Trump? Why wouldn't your team use this technology to stop an election steal? Why wouldn't Trump use it since in your other threads you said the president is briefed on the LNSS? I'm neither OP, I was only sticking up for them, winky face, but you do raise more interesting questions. However, I've watched these boards for a while, and the info the OP provided is more legit and complete than anyone else ever has, so you may have unanswered questions. Whatever OP's true motive is, I can't say. Have you seen the threads on 8kun? Look for threads titled "You Wouldn't Patent the Sun." A crude service elevator with a green door ferries employees into the underground complex, 1,200 feet below White City, New Mexico. This, combined with the cave taking its name from the Spanish word for lettuce gave facility its colloquial name, the Green Door. Its official name is the Lechuguilla National Security Site or LNSS. Behind the Green Door is a 1972 pornographic film starring Marilyn Chambers. It takes its title from Green Door, a 1956 song first recorded by Jim Lowe. What board? It didn't show up in search, fringe, poll, or Q. X/. Isn't it possible for it to be the other way around? What if a conquered commie had accessed these technologies and was actively giving the U.S. good information until a critical decision where they tell them the bad one and it spirals our country downwards? Checked a bit, Goodreads, just found the Green Door one. Also look on the /poll/archive from yesterday. He posted same thing and it hit limit real quick. There was a lot in there. Might you happen to have the link? Checked. The fact that OP can't deliver is proof it's a fucking LARP. Department of Intelligence Agency would shut that shit down if it was real. In for shill. Okay dude, give us proof. As far as I can tell, those threads have been scrubbed. Up here. I think I already pointed out in the thread from 3 days ago that Obama signed a secret executive order restricting knowledge of LNSS from Trump's briefings. Trump leaked every piece of information given to him, just as predicted. Obama and Biden were briefed, Trump was not for obvious reasons. I do not mean to get the guards riled up about Trump being kept out of the loop, but it's a fact. There is simply no way Trump would have kept a lid on this if someone had told him. The situation is evolving and we have to make improvised decisions in real time about what to release and when. Many of you are giving China too much credit. Let me know if you have any other questions. I will get this back up on /poll/ so we can go another 12 rounds with shills, bots, and zoomers. Good times. Are you able to say how you discovered the LNSS? I think OP narrative is a multidimensional AI narrative meant to create a certain retrocausal influence while Earth is transitioning to fourth density. I don't know, man. That red star on the patch that's sitting on the North American landmass. I mean that's directly in the New Mexico area of the map. Coincidence? Wonder what the white star in the sky represents. I found Daphne Westbrook's mom's live journal from 2008. https://ronawestbrook.livejournal.com/106432.html Photos and comments from 17 years ago. If this girl really was AI generated, then the technology they used to create her is very old and extraordinarily advanced. I think something weirder than AI trickery is going on here. Bumping because OP put effort into this post. Also, when TV shows have YouTube and Reddit accounts shown in them, they often cooperate with Reddit and YouTube to create those accounts and backdate them if necessary to create a sense of authenticity for people who Google them to check if they are real. So a spy agency could also do the same with LiveJournal. Please post some evidence or examples that the pictures are AI generated though. That's kind of the meat of the story for anyone who hasn't seen these posts before. Here's a quick rundown for the newfigs. Some girl goes missing. Thought to be kidnapped by her dad. Her dad, John Westbrook, is some kind of big brain that works for the government, purportedly on a project called Green Door. People start to notice things about her photos that don't make sense, and propose that she was created by AI and doesn't actually exist. This girl is finally found in 2019 all alone during a routine traffic stop, is completely fine, and they just let her go with no further questioning, so they say. She is not seen or heard from since, has no apparent social media presence, and they claim to still be actively looking for John Westbrook. Some say that this dude defected to China and this entire thing was a way to frame the guy for the kidnapping/murder of a daughter that never existed. Nothing about this story makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense that they just treat finding this girl in such a cavalier way. It doesn't make sense that they'd bother trying to frame a guy with AI when they could just kill him, and why bother framing him if they can't even find him, and think he defected to another country? And above all, it doesn't make sense that you can find photos of this girl from 17 years ago on old social media websites. I think this girl does, or did, exist. As a result, I'm not in the camp that believes she is completely manufactured and I think a lot of the odd stuff people notice about the photos is explainable. With that said, there are some strange things about this situation. Continued. First of all, there was a bot on this very board, and /poll/2, if I recall, about 3 to 4 years ago who used to spam pickerel every day. I know it was a bot too, because it would do it at all hours and it would give you nonsensical replies if you tried talking to it. I once said, prove you're real by posting a picture of a green plant, and it responded with an unironic neural blender, old AI site, pic of a green nuclear plant. The point I'm getting at here is that a bot was spamming threads about an AI human at all hours of the day. Somebody really wanted you interested in this topic, and really wanted you to believe this girl was an AI invention. That's putting aside the fact that the proposed idea of this girl being AI in the first place has, to my knowledge, no traceable origin. One day, threads about a missing girl being AI just popped up out of nowhere. These are already very odd circumstances and they aren't even directly related to the issue. Continued. You're telling me the schizo who was obsessed with this totally irrelevant bullshit was schizophrenic this whole time? In regards to the photos, like I said, I think a lot of peculiarities are explainable, e.g. the vertical striping as mentioned in the last pic it might be unusual but it's not impossible. But I'd be lying if I said almost all of these photos didn't have an uncanny vibe that makes my skin crawl. They are all unnatural looking, even if explainable. For example, there's something messed up about this girl's hands. They look strange in nearly every photo, always being held in some unnatural position. Who holds their hands up like this in a candid photo? It almost looks like she was holding a phone and it was edited out. Hands, mind you, are one of the hardest things for AI to get right, so this tracks. The problem is, this girl, judging by her mom's LiveJournal, obviously existed at some point unless you want to get really schizo and propose that they were messing around with AI 17 years ago, and it was advanced enough to pull off these convincing photos. On top of manufacturing entire lives of people responding to the photos and so on. It's not entirely impossible, but it's extremely improbable. I think the 5-year-old girl you see on that LiveJournal page existed. For whatever reason though, I think images of this girl were digitally manipulated, and or her adult photos are actually a projection of what they guessed she would look like, rather than a complete fabrication. Who, what, why? I don't know, but I do know that the entire situation is bizarre. Also, this is completely anecdotal, but there is something fucked with the mom. She never looks right in any photo, and there's odd stuff like half of her pics have her wearing a necklace with the word Rona on it. Who the fuck wears a necklace with their own name on it, for potentially years no less? That pic of her jumping into a pool looks like they cropped her and the daughter from an entirely different image and pasted it onto a background, like some kind of advertisement. It's weird. One last thing, if you Google Rona Westbrook or John Westbrook, you will find few or no results about this case. You'd think that Googling the names of a missing girl's parents would return instant juicy headlines and photos, but no. In fact, the very first result for Rona Westbrook is from her live journal, and the following results have nothing to do with her. Creepy stuff. Also, when TV shows have YouTube and Reddit accounts shown in them, they often cooperate with Reddit and YouTube to create those accounts and backdate them if necessary to create a sense of authenticity for people who Google them to check if they are real. So a spy agency could also do the same with LiveJournal. Here's something. https://web.archive.org/2000803000https://ronawestbrook.livejournal.com. There are Wayback Machine entries for that live journal as far back as 2006, when she created it. Like you said, it isn't impossible that they fucked around and backdated things to make them seem authentic, but the bigger issue is that you have people who were responding to these posts who are still actively using LiveJournal, as of 2024, based on one lady whose profile I looked at. For this girl to be completely AI generated, they would have needed to fake an ancient LiveJournal page, fake Wayback Machine entries, compose entire fake lives for dozens of people, some of who continue to use the service and post new content, etc. It just doesn't matter sense. The more recent photos of her looking undeniably weird and uncanny, but those ones from the LiveJournal page look legitimate. The more recent photos of her looking undeniably weird and uncanny, but those ones from the LJ page look legitimate. Spoopit. Two nearly identical guitars in the background except with different bridge lengths and other anomalies. Nothing to see here. Imagine being so ugly people think you are AI generated. I don't see the dead body in Daphne's video, but maybe I'm not looking hard enough. Here's an idea, since we already know the recent photos are AI, or at least messed with in some way or another, let's try to find anomalies in the childhood photos. I've been looking at these for a while now, and the biggest red flag I've seen is that they have 10 fucking pizzas for what looks like 3 to 4 adults and a handful of kids. Somebody should try to find this park on Google Maps. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say this was in some place called Kennesaw, Georgia. Judging by that half-obscured sign on the gazebo roof here. Green door in Air Force slang referring to a secret or restricted area of assignment. Green door in the intelligence community means relating to an individual's organization's access or information and or locations. Can you post a link to this video? All I've ever seen is the one of the mom pleading for LE baby girl to come home safe. Every thread on this bitch talks about her video with some corpse, but nobody ever posts the actual video. This just made me realize something. https://www.fox13news.com/video/909726. Watch this video during the parts where the mom talks, at 30 seconds, 45 seconds, etc. Putting aside how fake this lady looks and speaks in general, and weird shit like how her hair is blown by the wind in 2 different directions at one point, I can't help but notice how shitty the video quality is. Think about it, this wasn't 1999. This was 2021. We've been living in a world, for a very long time now, where the average cell phone video recording is of a significantly higher quality than this. Why the fuck is this kind of garbage real-time video quality necessary when your average Zoom call looks better? It's almost like they're intentionally making the video quality shit so they have a reason to hide visual imperfections. But tons of news stations do this. Exactly. Tons of them do it. Tons of them do it despite them having more money and access to the best equipment possible, and yet these live stream news reports looking like shit compared to somebody live streaming on Twitch, even from 5+ years ago. Now I wonder how many of these live reports are completely fake, or at least doctored. I mean, hey, that's what I would do. If I wanted to skew public discourse and convince people of lies with videos of real people, that I couldn't make look completely real because they're AI abominations, I would explain it away with a LE video quality and LE bandwidth and a bunch of other retarded shit that your average normie would never question, let alone notice. I can stream a guy speed running Ocarina of Time in perfect quality on my GOI phone, but a news station has some blurry ass video of a bitch talking for 5 seconds before cutting away to more suit speak. No, that doesn't sit right with me. The news might actually be faker and gayer than first imagined. This video I found on YouTube has it edited in, I believe. Even the YouTuber is thinking something is wrong with the whole story. Those are Guitar Hero controllers. That's just uncanny AF. Who throws a party in a public park like that? Where are the other people? Everything just always looks off in these pictures. Her home life looks like someone who's never been to America before trying to edit what he thinks an American house should look like, and everyone wears unbranded clothes like they're on TV. So is this real or fake? I mean, is the thing about the thing itself a psyop? Did normies know about this girl or just image board artists? Invite every kid at school to your party. Dad ordered like 10 pizzas. It's gonna be at the park. Aw man, this is gonna be sweet. The day arrives. Only one kid from your school shows up. Your aunt brought along some of your cousins. You hear her saying, "Don't be rude. Go say happy birthday and then you can have a slice of pizza." Years later someone uses the pictures from that day as evidence that you don't exist. She's not ugly, she just looks uncanny and like she doesn't belong there.
Are you a targeted individual? Have you had a paranormal encounter, or are the victim of an unregulated government experiment and would like to share your story with us? Would you like to send us some fan mail or a hate-filled rant? Do you have an idea for a future episode or wish to send a complaint to HR? Email us at atomicshaman@protonmail.com. Like, share, subscribe and be sure to check the notification bell. Follow the Atomic Shaman on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Listen to Paranormal Green Text Stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube. Catch the live streams of Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge only on Rumble.